Funnel creation software, like ClickFunnels, is second to none when it comes to building and supporting online sales. There's really no question in the market about that. Funnels are great at systematically bringing somebody through a step-by-step process in order to help them buy something and maybe buy one more thing and maybe buy one more thing. That's what funnels are amazing at, and that's what changed the game in terms of online sales. Now, I want to compare and contrast that to often when you're building funnels, you also want to build a membership site with usually the funnel software. And often if you are in that space and you're trying to build your membership site, a membership site is really showing all of your offers that the people have bought from you. It's a way for them to come in and participate in that offer that they purchased and to go inside the membership site to find that. And really, if we think about it, the offers inside of that membership space are intended to help someone consume the content and then go make some kind of change in the way that they think, in the way that they act, in the way that they do things into the world, right? Instead of like funnels where the goal is to make a buying decision inside of an offer in a membership space, the goal is to try to create some kind of behavioral change. These are very different things. And you might be using the same software to build your funnels and build your membership site. But the problem is that if you're approaching building your membership site like you're approaching building your funnels, it's going to be dead on arrival. Let's dive in. I get it. You want to use your funnel software to build your membership site, save a little bit of money, keep it all in one spot. That makes total sense to me. So you do what every great funnel builder does. You go out and you try to design hack or funnel hack the ones that are out there. So you look at the Kartra model and you look at the Kajabi model and you look at maybe Thinkific or Experienceify and you're like, okay, how can I do that in my funnel software? And so you try, but normally what ends up happening is you have the classic thing that everybody else has. We have a left side nav and we have the content in the center, and that's it. You might throw in a couple fancy things like next lesson, previous lesson, or maybe you'll throw in some cool graphics or maybe a GIF to like break it up a little bit, or maybe you throw in some like flashy buttons, or maybe you even go the extra mile and provide a workbook. These are all the classic ways that, again, if you're using a funnel software to build a membership site, the things that are seemingly readily available to you to not make it completely boring, but still keep everything under the same software. So if you're doing those things, you're not alone, don't worry. Now, if you're doing some of those fancy things like workbooks and fancy images and flashy buttons, you are doing better than most, and I applaud you for those efforts. But I think that you would actually find great value in a field of science and research straight from most of the time seen in software development called interaction design. Interaction designers are obsessed with trying to understand how customers interact with products. Normally there are 5 different things that they look at: the words on the screen, the way things are visually represented, the way things interact, the way the customer interacts with the objects, the way that their sounds or motions or animations are used in order to promote action or to reinforce understanding of what's happening, and to be able to see the mechanics, so like the inputs, so if I'm using a keyboard or a mouse or something like that. So those are normally the 5 dimensions that you see with interaction designers, or that they're obsessed with. Now, you might be saying, yeah, I'm not going to go back to school to learn interaction design. Don't worry, you don't have to. This video I have made is specifically for the purpose for you as a funnel builder who may be using a funnel building software in order to build a membership site, can leverage the power of interaction designers in your membership site in order to actually make it come alive and to promote the customer actually doing the thing instead of getting confused and wanting to bail. There is one concept in the funnel space that is applicable when you're building membership sites, and it is true, and that is the saying of a confused mind says no. Well, in the membership site, if somebody comes in there and they're not sure where to go next or what to do, they're looking for an excuse to bail, because the thing that's being asked of them is usually something that is pretty deep in terms of behavioral change or thinking about something different or feeling something different. And we as humans are just naturally wanting to find the exit door whenever we're in a change mode or a learning mode, because learning and change is hard. And so let's go ahead and take a look and deep dive into what can we learn from some of the best practices of interaction designers who build some of the best software in the world when you're building your membership site. Okay, we're gonna get a little geeky here. So if we are leveraging the power of interaction design is an art and a science that you could study for your entire life. I've personally spent about 20 years studying it and implementing it in various software projects. But we're not going to dive into all of it. We're going to dive into what I think are the three most important aspects of interaction design that if you are building a membership site, you can learn from. All right, number one is intention. Number two is something called chunking and proximity. And number three are interaction elements. We're gonna dive into each of these in this video, and you'll be able to leverage them in your membership site build. Wait a second. Why do I care about these fancy words and these crazy things that you're talking about, Andrea? Well, here's why you care. Yes, you have already sold them. Yes, they are in your membership site already. And yes, you already have their money. So a lot of you guys might be thinking, why do I need to go the extra mile? They've already purchased from me. It's on them to do it or not do it, right? Wrong. The cost to acquire a customer will always be more than the cost to keep a customer. All you need to do is some very simple things to improve your membership site experience, and it'll make all the difference in the world in terms of them not just doing the thing, but actually wanting to come back and buy more from you. So trust me, you're gonna want to understand these lessons from interaction designers so that you can just put a little bit of effort into creating a way better experience for your people. Let's start with just reflecting on your own experience with membership sites. Have you ever wondered why some of the membership sites that you engage in are just easy and smooth, you know exactly what to do, and some of them are confusing and hard and you're not quite sure where to find stuff? Well, all of this can be contributed to the way that the interaction with the membership site was designed. The art, science, and craft of interaction design is based on the fundamental concept that the customer you serve is going to be interacting with an object that you've created in what we call a time-shifted conversation. Okay, that's a big fancy way of basically saying you're going to create a piece of software, or you're going to use a piece of software, you're going to create a membership site experience that they're going to interact with in the four walls of either their mobile device or on their desktop device. And the way that things are laid out and the way that things are placed on the screen will have an impact in terms of how their brain understands it, how their eyes can perceive it, and what their decision-making process is in terms of being able to do the next thing. All of this has to do with the way us as humans interact with computers, which is essentially, when we're looking at interaction design, we're obsessed with trying to understand that, of how do we actually allow the human to do the thing that you want them to do by simply just adjusting the things that they see on the screen, the way they're placed, the way that they interact with the customer, and the way that they are presented can make all the difference in the world in terms of them actually knowing how to do the thing and doing the thing and then wanting to bail. The number one thing that membership site builders can learn from interaction designers is a thing called intention. So whenever you're building any kind of software or any kind of experience with any kind of technology, the very first place that all interaction designers start with is intention. What is the primary intention of this particular screen, of this particular page, in order to help support the customer journey? And that is always articulated. And when we understand intention, the second question that we ask is, what kind of behaviors would we observe to realize that our intention is actually coming true? That's going to be talked about in a later video, so I just want to focus on the intention part today. All right, so let's go into a couple examples. I'm going to show you three where the intention is clear versus one that the intention could be a little bit more clear and the membership site could benefit from it. Okay, so the first one that I want to show you is one that is used on the Teachable platform. They use Teachable as the software, but this is Future. If you don't know Future, great guy, Chris Dow. He is an interaction designer and a visual designer, and works with some of the biggest brands in the world. Great material. So I'm going to show you, this is his membership site, right? And again, the primary purpose of a membership site is to house all of your offers and to allow customers to come into your offer space to see, okay, I just bought something, let me consume it. And what else do you have? Okay, so the purpose and intention of this site is the same for everyone who's building membership sites. I want to do two things. I want to make sure that the person who bought the thing can find the thing and consume it and keep consuming it. And then my second intention is if they don't have it and they're interested in it, then I can upsell them. I can get them into the next thing. So one thing that's done really well looking at the interaction elements is here, there's a price point for the ones that I don't own, right? So it gives me a little bit about what it is, and it gives me a price point for the ones that I don't own, sending a clear signal of my intention is I want to sell you this thing, right? Versus the thing I purchased, you can see it's so small and so minor, but it makes a giant difference. And that is, instead of the price point being here, it's my progress. So now I can quickly see, okay, I own that thing and I'm 0% complete with it, right? Or here, I own that thing and I'm 100% complete with it. So I can quickly see the things that I own. This is an amazing one, by the way, a complete case study. I'm 90% of the way complete, or show your work 100% of the way. So I can immediately jump in and be like, okay, so these are the ones I don't own, which interesting design decision that he put those up front. That's not what I would do. I'd put them at the bottom, but that's another topic. So, but I clearly see these are the ones I don't own that I could buy. These are the ones that I own, and I'm progressing through. So keep going. And I can also quickly see like, okay, well, I did that one. I'm going to jump into this one. So the intention of the first step in the membership site is let me keep going. Let me find the offer I bought and keep going with it. Or let me get to the next offer that I don't yet purchase. And this is done beautifully. Okay. Now let's compare that to two other ones. So another one, and this is still on Thinkific, but this is where they've chosen to not use this space as an upsell space. This is only a space for progression. So this is Amy Jo Kim, Game Thinking. I'm working on getting certified in it. It's an amazing program. And you can see I've, half started a lot of these, right? So this is only showing my completion of all the ones that I already own. Now, if I didn't own any of these, I don't believe the price point would be on them. I might have to double check, but I pretty much just buy everything that Amy Jo does because it's amazing. But again, very easy to come in and say like, okay, what do I own? Where am I at? What's my next step? I can just see that completion. Now, I want to compare and contrast it to, and this is not a knock on Russell at all, but just one simple, small thing that you could do in the membership site to make the intention more clear. So I come in, I think I own all of these. I'm not entirely sure. I think only the ones that I own show up. And I don't know, like, okay, which one did I start and where did I leave off? And like, which one am I focused on right now? So I know, for instance, they have this Black Card Club, which I think is the one I should be focused on now and not this one, but I always get confused. And just a simple progress bar, and it's already out of the box inside of ClickFunnels. You can just add it, just add a little bit of progress bar, and you can see it right there to say like, okay, these are the ones that I'm working on right now. Another one, a great one, is a One Funnel Away challenge. I've been eagerly waiting for this one. We're going to go into this one in just a second. But again, just a small little progress bar right there would be so helpful in terms of making the intention of, I want to get you into my membership site. My intention is to keep you going into the flow, and it helps significantly. So that's just one example of what you can learn from interaction designers that help promote the user's understanding of where do I need to go next and what am I looking at. Just a small little progress bar, bada bing, bada boom, you've accomplished a major thing. There are two other examples that I think are worth noting when it comes to intention. And the examples that we just looked at were very traditional. I'm going to sell you a course and then I'm going to help you go through the course. And my whole goal is to try to help you progress through that course and keep going, right? But there's another version of what we call edutainment, which is basically I am trying to educate you, but I'm also trying to add some entertainment in there to help you keep going. We know that these models are really good, especially if you're selling something that is a little bit more more DIY as a reference, as a, hey, if you have some extra time, pick up this skill set type of thing, right? And the two examples that I want to highlight are Masterclass and Mindvalley. So let's go ahead and take a look. So when I go into the home page or the membership site main experience page of Masterclass, right, this is very different. So the goal that they're trying to get me to do is they're trying to get me to consume the content, not necessarily do the behavioral change, but just basically keep consuming the content. It's very Netflix model, right? Where if I'm actively using my Netflix subscription, the chance of me leaving is low. So I need to be able to connect in and keep working with the content. So what they've done is they have basically presented all of the different options in terms of what I might be interested in and the latest and greatest. And you can see right here, new for you. Now, the way that they're able to do that is that they've tracked my behavior, right? They've tracked the courses that I've taken and the things that I'm interested in. So therefore, they've made this really interesting in terms of like, okay, this would be what I would be interested in. And they've curated it. And then, of course, they've grouped the like themes here so I can take a look. So this is, again, very different than the membership sites that we saw where it was really trying to get me into the offer right away, whereas this is actually trying to suggest my next step. Now, in here, it does show me also a highlight of new to Masterclass. It shows me even deeper, recommended for you, very Amazon-like, and then it gets me to my list. Now, this my list part and this continue watching part is like the whole experience on membership sites like the ones we just saw. Whereas this one, because the nature of the intention of this program is to always get me to see the next great content that they have and to find value in that content, they're prioritizing showing me the new and the latest content that I might be interested in, not necessarily keeping me on track with the ones that I've already started. So again, a different intention, different interaction model, totally makes sense. Okay, let's look at one more, and that's Mindvalley. Now, Mindvalley is a little bit of a mix between the ones that we saw originally, where the primary goal is to keep me on task, versus the one we just saw, where the primary goal is to get me to consume content, right? So that I want to keep paying because the content is so awesome. Mindvalley is a little bit in between the two. So Mindvalley is a subscription model. It does want me to consume the content, but it has a little bit more of a vested interest in me actually doing the thing. So you can see here what it's done is it's accounting for my time. So from an intention standpoint, it's trying to say, hey, continue learning, right? These are the programs that I have started. And then it gives me a little bit of like time orientation of like, how much time does it take you to engage in personal development? And so they've added these little tiny interactions, giving me a little bit more of like, how much more do I need to go instead of percent. It also gives me a time estimate. Okay, there's about 16 minutes in this particular lesson. So if I'm wanting to come and pick up quick learning on that day, which is a huge intention of Mindvalley, do a little bit every day, right? Then it's trying to promote things like it'll only take you 16 minutes. Your class is currently at lesson 28. Like it's trying to get me in context as quick as possible to be able to do the little bit each day. Again, super simple, minor things that are different, but it helps promote a different intention. One is it doesn't matter, the first three that I showed you, whenever you come in, I want to get you right into continuing down your process. The second one, Mindvalley or Masterclass, is I want you to consume content. And so I'm going to present to you the best and the greatest new content. And then the third one, Mindvalley, is I want to promote a little bit of action every day. And so I want to get you right into the thing you're already doing. And I want you to be mindful of like, hey, it just takes 16 minutes. Come in, let's do it, right? And then this, again, you can see here, you're on the same day as your class. So this is a cohort model. We're all starting together. So there's a little bit of like a reinforcer, like keep going, stay with it, be here with your class. So very different intention, right? And very different little tiny elements that help promote the intention of what it is trying to accomplish. The second thing that membership site builders can take from interaction designers is something called chunking and proximity. All right, let me break this down what this means. Chunking is a way that our brain processes information. And essentially, when we are learning new things, we're always trying to bring them together. The sign of a really deep expert is essentially they say they have deeper chunks or bigger chunks, right? So a lot of times this is also referred to as in our phone number system in the United States, how we have the 3, 3, and 4, right? Those are chunks of information that allow our brain to process the information a little bit easier and remember it. So we know that if we're looking at a US based number, it is a chunk of 3, a chunk of 3, a chunk of 4. So our brain connects those two, right? So mine might be, 598, and then it's like a pause. You even hear it when people talk to each other, right? 598, 321, 1485. So the reason why we chunk that is because that allows our brain to process information in chunks. We know that our brain is happy whenever we have chunks to process. Instead of, if I were just to do the whole string, I don't remember what it was, 508, 123, 1962, right? That'd be a lot harder for your brain to process because there's not chunks of information that the brain can take in, understand, do something with, next chunk. So chunking is a way that allows the brain, it makes a happy brain of oh, okay, I can process this information. So when we're looking at membership sites, the more that you can do to chunk your information, the better. We saw it on Mindvalley and we saw it on Masterclass, the new for you, that's a chunk of information, right? Or it's the where you left off, that's a chunk of information, right? So it allows the brain to say, okay, I don't have to process all of the things inside of this. I just have to know that this chunk is for this purpose. I'm going to show you one other example in our Geek Out community where this is a membership, a ClickFunnels 1.0 membership build. It's kind of an older build, but we did use the concept of chunking to allow anybody who comes into the site to quickly understand, okay, this section is for this purpose. It's a chunk, right? So if we look on here, this is Welcome to Geek Out. We get people who are in all levels with us. So we have our people who are free. We have people who are in our level 1 and people who are our lower ticket continuity members. And we have people in our level 2, which are our higher ticket program that we help them basically launch their entire linchpin. So this is where we say, okay, for anybody who comes in right here, this is a chunk. So everything in here is called free resources. It's a chunk of information. So as the brain is trying to process what is this thing, right? It's saying, oh, okay, I know everything in there is free. Great. Okay, here, I want to get started. So then I go into the next level of processing what's there. But the brain doesn't have to process these two things because I have a chunk of information that I get to process first. It's a happy brain. Same, here's a chunk that is for our level 1, here's a chunk for our level 2, and then here's a chunk that are just our reference libraries. So again, chunking allows for the brain to be a happy brain and understand it. The other way that you can leverage chunking is that as somebody's going through your membership site and through your offers, if you tell them basically the general phases that they're going to go through. Now, I got to hand it to ClickFunnels on this one. Their new One Funnel Away challenge does a great job at this. So if we look at this, right, there's chunks. So I'm part of the One Funnel Away, right? And then in here, every single one of these sections essentially acts like a chunk of information. So I can be like, oh, okay, so big picture, I'm going to do pre-week, I'm going to do my week 1 where I'm building my list, I'm going to do week 2 where I'm creating my offer, I'm going to do week 3 where I'm launching my funnel, and week 4 where I'm filling my funnel, right? And then of course bonuses. So automatically the brain is happy brain because it's like, okay, I see the big chunks of things that I'm going to have to process. So now I'm ready to go to the next thing. And again, now when I go down, even you could say that each one of these is a chunk. My day 1 is a chunk. So it gives me very easy ways to be able to say, okay, this is the grouping of information that I'm going to have to process. My brain basically says, got it. Okay, I'm going to chunk that, I'm going to process that, and then I'm going to go one level deeper. Another good example is on Amy Jo Kim's. This is just a journey map, right? This is the journey that I'm going to go on through her program. And you can see there's chunking of information. So onboarding is a chunk of information I'm going to process. Discovery sprint is a chunk of information I'm going to process. If she told me I'm going to do introduction and then elevator pitch and then key competitors and then superfan screening and then job stories, right? My brain would go into overload. But if I can chunk first, it allows me to process the information in a way that my brain is happy, right? So chunking. Now, if you couple chunking with the concept of proximity, now that's super powerful. Let's talk about what proximity is. Okay, the brain will connect things that are close together. So, for instance, if I am looking at something, right, and I'm going to go back to our Geek Out example, and let's say that there was no space, and this is so small, guys, it's so easy, right? There's no space between getting started and the bottom of these. the brain is going to see that because those are close together, I want to put them together. Now, when we're doing chunks, we want them to just see that chunk. You can help the brain in the chunking process by adding or deleting. Here is free resources. We intentionally created space here so that the brain could then say, okay, visually, I don't see those as connected, so therefore I see another chunk here. Right? So information processing is the chunking. Spacing or proximity allows me then to further understand the bounds of the chunk. Same with here. So these are equidistant. So it suggests that these four are together with free resources. And the space in between free resources and this helps the brain say, okay, these are close together. They're in proximity. They're linked. They're connected somehow, right? So super easy thing you can do in interaction design, just create a little bit of space or take away space for the things that you want to make sure the brain says these are different, or no, I need you to see these as grouped together, right? Low space, grouped together, higher space distance, different things. So that is a powerful combination whenever you're creating any membership site to be thinking of, okay, the brain needs chunks, how can I chunk it? And then the brain also connects things that are close and doesn't connect things that are far away. So how can I add space or take away space to help the customer just process what's on the screen and be able to dive in quicker? The third thing that you can use that you can learn from interaction designers is around what we call interaction elements. So these are very specific elements that are put on the screen to try to promote a particular way of thinking or a particular behavior. Now, this can get a little bit complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight some of the key interaction elements that you would want to have inside of your membership site depending on the type of experience that you're building. Now, if you've been watching our channel, you know that we talk a lot about there's 6 different types of experiences that you might be building inside of your membership site. In order to keep things really streamlined for today's video, we're going to talk about just 4 of them. So in the 6 experience models, there is the sprint model, which is really geared towards getting somebody initially started in your world, getting that first win. There's lots of momentum, lots of pressure. The library model, which usually is your whole library of content that they might have access to and that they can reference at any stage in their journey. The course model, which is our classic, it's what we see most of the time. It's a self-paced, go at your own, and teach yourself and go do the thing. And then the last one we're going to talk about is what we call the event model. The event model is usually like your challenge or your summit or something with the goal of trying to get somebody into a buying decision. Okay, so let's break down those 4 and let's just look at 1 interaction or 2 interaction elements that might help support each of them. Okay, the first one is the sprint model. Now, the sprint model, again, our goal is to insert pressure and momentum and drive and get them to take that first step into your world. When we're in a sprint model, we're really focused on that pressure point. So what are some interaction elements that help promote pressure? I have 2 examples. The first one is going back to that Mindvalley, where we saw what's called social pressure. So social pressure means that I have already said that I'm going to do this program with a cohort. And so it shows me, it's a little bit passive, but it's really subtle down here at the bottom that basically says, hey, your class is currently on lesson 28 and you're on lesson 7. Or I get another message that gives me a little like strong arm that says like, congratulations, you're with your same class, like you're on track. So again, there's a little bit of social pressure that's injected there, which is nice. The second thing around a sprint model is time pressure. Now, I have to say that the new One Funnel Away challenge that Russell Brunson did is actually fantastic. Hey, you've got to select a class to start, right? So you have to tell me, like, commit. When are you going to start this? And so I say, okay, and I pick my date and my time, and then all of a sudden, boom, all of my lessons and everything that's associated with it are relative to that date that I promised. So now when my pre-week 1 opens is according to the date that I picked. And it's just going to keep chucking along and open up one at a time as I'm going. So I have both time pressure and I'm also with a cohort. So there's a group of other people that are joining. And even when I select my date of like, when am I starting? It says a cohort, like it doesn't give me just an open calendar of dates. It tells me, okay, the next cohort is starting on this Monday or next cohort is starting on this Wednesday. So I know I'm picking a date and I have social pressure for when I'm going into the program. Fantastic job. And there are little tiny interaction elements then throughout that show me, hey, you're with your cohort and you're on this date. The emails I get, the text messages I get, everything that I get is all with that time pressure. Great interaction elements that you can add just right there onto the site. Okay, that's the sprint model. The second one is the library model. Now, library model is by far probably the hardest whenever we don't have big budgets to support kind of dev efforts, because libraries really are dependent upon how well we categorize and organize things. The two interaction elements that can help you significantly when you're building a library model is a powerful search and a intelligent navigation. Now, powerful search is usually dependent upon the software that we use, so sometimes we don't always have control over that. There are plugins out there that you can add, which is really just focus on an intelligent navigation. What I mean by that is, let's look again at Mindvalley. Mindvalley has an intelligent navigation. So if I go and I look at the navigation at the top and I look at the programs, it's organized in terms of mind, body, soul, career, entrepreneurship, and relationships. Now, they have decided that their content is best suited in those categories. So when I'm trying to find something, I have that meta category, right, of mind. Okay, I want to focus on my mind, or I want to focus on my body. The other way that they've also done an intelligent navigation is they've created playlists. So again, I don't necessarily have to know the content that's in there, but I can look at the playlist to say, oh, I want to get better at money, or oh, I want to get better at weight, right? And so then I can just go in there and it gives me the options. So the third model that we want to look at is course. Of course, many of you guys are probably going to defer to course or default to course because it's what we know. So a course, really there's two things that are super important, and that is progress tracking and self-assessment. So progress tracking, again, we've seen a lot of examples today of that. Just to highlight a couple more, so progress tracking is being able to see, like, where am I at in the progress. There's also little things that you can do from an icon standpoint. So you can see here in Amy Jo Kim's on the Teachable site where I can see, okay, I see the little progress, I see a check if I'm done, I see a half moon kind of shape if I'm halfway through, and then a totally empty circle if I haven't started yet. Again, a really nice touch, really nice indicator of being able to do that. Now, because we're talking about software, a lot of times this is dependent upon the software that you're using, but with just a little bit of CSS code, just a little tiny bit, you can actually make these things happen and just add a little bit of icon to your experience. The other way is if you are using a software where it's just simply the header and then you can add your own icon to it, you can simply go out on to any kind of site and get different emojis with these icons and put them in front of it. Now, they have to be dynamic, which brings me to the next kind of more difficult part whenever you're doing this, and that is it has to know where the customer is at and how much progress they've made. Now, if you're working with a software or if you don't have a dev that does that, then I would say just keep it simple and do the default of whatever the software gives you. But keep in mind that those little tiny progress indicators are huge. So if you have a progress element in the software you're using, insert it, use it, make sure that it's visible. The other thing when it comes to the course model is self-assessment. Now, I am not a big quiz person, but I will say in one of the programs that I've been recently taking, a really quick quiz, the stakes are low. It's just basically for me to do a self-assessment of did I understand these really critical components. It's not testing me for a letter grade. It's just basically giving me feedback to say, hey, these are really important parts of the learning. Let's make sure you got it. And so it's just an embedded quiz that gives me immediate feedback on whatever I answer I respond. It gives me immediate feedback of did I do it right. So really nice interaction element with with course models. The last thing is the event model. And event models are fun because they too, like sprints, inject a lot of momentum, but it's for the purpose of a buying decision. There are two critical interaction elements that can help enhance your event model, your event experience. So the first one is a daily focus. So we've seen this time and time again, but basically just across the top having a day, and then each day is locked until that day opens. And then you can basically just toggle on each of those each of those days, and the day exposes itself below. The other thing to have with an event model is what I call the lobby experience. So this is the place that if you were to go to a real event, you're building excitement and anticipation. So go ahead and build that into your membership site. So I come in, I go to my event space, and instead of just being the day 1 through 5, the very first thing is actually the lobby. And so as soon as they purchase, there may be time between the time they purchase and the time they engage with the event. use that lobby page to get them engaged. Do a trailer, do a sizzle reel, do a countdown timer, right? Like have the lobby experience try to inject anticipation and excitement for the event. Super easy interaction elements that you can add there that make a big difference. And you can pretty much do that in any software that you're using for building these things. Okay, so we've gone through 4 of the different experience models and at least 2 interaction elements that you can include super easy into your member. Let's do a quick recap. So you are probably using funnel software to build your membership site, and that's okay. You can do that as long as you take the best of the interaction design concepts that interaction designers would think about all the time, and you infuse those into your membership site, which most funnel building software you could do. Most. Now, the 3 things that you want to make sure that you focus on in order to leverage the power and the brilliance of interaction designers is 1, intention. Make sure that you know the intention of every single page and every single place that your customer might go and infuse some interaction elements on there to help support that intention. 2nd, chunking and proximity. The brain processes information in chunks, and the brain also connects things that are close together and doesn't connect things that are farther apart, which is some simple spacing and some simple like grouping of things together on your page. You can help the customer experience and them in the membership site be 10 times better. And then the 3rd thing is interaction elements. We went through 2 different interaction elements with 4 different experience models in this video that would be super simple for you to implement, and again makes a huge difference in terms of the customer engagement. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is a lot of people are like, you know what, I need dev resources, I need help, I need support. Well, don't worry, we got you covered inside of the Geek Out community and our Facebook group. We help people with this all the time. Not to mention we have a full-blown agency that helps people to be able to build these things and bring their vision of their membership site to life. So if you're needing any help and support, come join our Geek Out community in Facebook or reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk deeper with how you can leverage the power of interaction designers inside of your membership site. Thank you. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. We so appreciate your viewership.